Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jalon coming back with another quick video. Not in the car this time, right? I'm actually out and just out and about and reflecting on what I've done this past week. And specifically, this is a video I want to share about my experience as a volleyball official and share some of the things I've learned from that experience. And the reason why I got into volleyball was I started playing a little bit, and I wanted to take on a new challenge, something that challenges me, something new to me, because life without problems and challenges is boring, so that's why I decided to do that. So going back to diving into what I learned in volleyball. First of all, that's a sport that I knew nothing of about a year ago, since when I started playing. And secondly, I had to learn the mechanics and as well as the game, right? And to be honest, I didn't study a lot about the game, throughout this whole referee season. However, I did pick up a lot of stuff just from the interactions from the coaches and the players that has taught me from doing it, from executing, and actually being in the trenches teaches you a lot of stuff. And I still remember the first session, I remember the first week of volleyball. I got put into doing some middle school games. I thought it was gonna be chill, right? It's very relaxing, and you basically just call in play and out of bounds and who gives a point, right? And primarily at that age level, a lot of it comes with just serving the ball, and I think that was easy. But then when it got into the afternoon session and I saw that I had to ref high school games, a part of me got a little scared, to be honest. I wasn't sure how I was going to handle it, because I had no experience, never freaking played volleyball before, and now, and on top of that, I had this is my first week of freaking actually refereeing, and they're actually putting me into doing high school games. I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna get shit on by the parents and the coaches, and all these negative thoughts that started to get into my head. But then, after that game, I didn't feel like it was that bad. Obviously, I made tons of mistakes, and I grew from that. As the season progresses, overall is not as intimidating as I thought it was gonna be. I knew it was gonna be a challenge. I knew I had to deal with coaches and parents and all that, but nonetheless, it's still a positive experience. And I really appreciate the guy, I guess the lead trainer or the lead organizer, supervisor who put this in charge, because he taught me a lot. We kind of had this funny thing going on between us, whereas I wanted to improve, right? I want to improve every single week. So what I did at the end of every week, I asked them how I did, and I swear, every single week for at least 10 weeks straight, we had these bars of 24 or 100 ranks that we have to climb. I was at minimum acceptable for this whole season. And as someone like myself, who wanted to improve, who was trying to learn from my mistakes and make adjustments to get better at what I do, at anything that I do, it just kind of frustrated me in some ways. And now this past weekend, I asked him, since it was the last week, I asked him and I complimented him, saying that thank you so much for everything you have taught me, in terms whether it's in volleyball related or not. I just asked him. I just thanked him for that, and then he kind of jokingly said, "Yeah, what did I teach you?" You know, and I think as for me, I started to look into the details a lot more. Is that I recognized that even though we had this jokes, like somewhat of a joke or a thing, going between us, that he wasn't aware of the things that he was teaching me. But I picked up on those details, and I think I started looking into the details a lot more of the things that I've done better, of the situations, how I handled certain situations, and how I interact with people, different people, because people have different personalities, and how you have to adjust your approach so that you don't offend them, but yet you still communicate your thoughts and influence them effectively. So that's kind of like stunning to me that he didn't pick up on those. And I think, can I share another story with you guys? Another thing I picked up from one of the coaches is that this coach, he was, first week going into it, I thought he was crazy. I thought he was nuts. I thought he was a moron. Every time his team probably won one game, and that's like this past weekend, this whole season. But yet, the first week that I went into it, I saw him, and I saw his enthusiasm, his energies, and how he was cheering on his team, regardless of what happens. It seems strange to me. It seems very strange to me of someone who is so positive and so uplifting. But yet, I'm kind of laughing at myself of like going back to the first week of like how did I not see that? Right? How did I not see that what he was doing and how he was impacting his kids on a macro scale, but that yet I was so blind, and so were all these other people were so blind to the fact of what he was doing. And that's an important lesson that I learned from him. And I just started looking at those specific smaller details of what people are doing and what coaches are doing and what players are doing, and how that will determine the outcome of the game, right? And another thing that I learned is that what separates coaches from coaches and cheerleaders, and it becomes very apparent to me as I was observing all these coaches and the way that they coach their team, and the energies and the interactions during timeouts. And most people are not good coaches. Most people are cheerleaders, and there's a big difference in that. And that separates how that translates into the results of what their teams, how their teams will play. Now, granted, I know that if you gotta have good players in order to have a good coach, right? It's a good combination. It's a good balance. You can have great players, but you have a horrible coach, you still win games. But then, his team wasn't the best. I have to say that. But I think that on the macro scale, that what he was teaching through his energy and through his enthusiasm, it's a huge learning moment for me, and I hope that his kids will recognize that, and so along with the parents that of those kids. So I'm really grateful for that lesson as well. And this past week, something also interesting happened to me. So can I share another story with you guys? Thank you. So it was getting to the end of the tournament. It was the last game. I the score was very close, right? But then we know that serving is the major challenge I guess in volleyball, especially at a younger age. If you are the serving team, you have a huge advantage in volleyball. So, and during one of the calls, I messed it up. I made a mistake. I recognize that because I'm not perfect. I recognize that I make mistakes tons, all the time. I can't count on the amount of mistakes that I've made throughout the season. And as a matter of fact, I wish I've made more, because that's like what I need to learn from. And looking back at my childhood, I wish I made more mistakes. But getting back to track, so I made a mistake, right? And then the coach pointed it out to me, and I recognized that I made a mistake. But then there was nothing I could do about it, because I didn't call it at the moment. I didn't have the guts, right? I didn't have the guts to call it. And that's another thing, is that I preach on making mistakes so much in basketball when I was a trainer, but that sometimes I don't take my own advice, and that's something I need to work on more. Is that I don't even take my own advice, because sometimes we just fall into that unconscious mind, that just being so comfortable and being afraid to make mistakes, that I'm not so aware of that. I'm not taking the risk. So, going back to the idea is that she pointed out that mistake to me. I acknowledged it, and potentially that could have cost her the game, and that's what she was frustrated about, and which I completely understand. I apologize, but then throughout the remaining of the matches, she pointed that out to me numerous times, and she also went to the supervisor and pointed that out to them, right? And then I talked to the supervisor. I say, I made a mistake. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. But then I think the lesson that I learned, and I was watching her movements and her interactions and her body language and what she was doing throughout the rest of the game and post game. And she said that she pointed out the language that she uses, that you made a mistake. And from that, just thinking about that from now, it's almost there's two things that I've learned from that, is that I'm not perfect. I make tons of mistakes, like I mentioned. But secondly, she's clearly not the best coach. She's not the coach. She's more of a cheerleader, in my opinion. That's not for me to judge who she is, but I think the observations just from the things that she was showing throughout the season and throughout the whole match, that's just what I saw. She was a cheerleader. She wasn't being very strategic with her players and game plan, that she was just cheering them on, right? But at the same time, she wasn't taking any ownership of her part, right? And I think that's what, I own my part. I owned it, because I said I made a mistake. I live up to my mistake. I live it up. But she also didn't play her part. I'm not judging her, but that I think she didn't play her part on her role as being a coach to get into control of her team. So, and she didn't take ownership of that, and I think the learning moment from that is that life for me is I love taking ownership. When I make mistakes, I love to own it. I'm not afraid to say it. I know that I need to make more of them so I can learn from it. But then she was pointing fingers at me throughout this whole game, and it's very fascinating to how people don't like to take ownerships and try to just point fingers at others for the outcome that they could have easily have controlled in or influenced in. So I'm not saying that I didn't make a mistake. I made a mistake, but that's the outcome of the game. I lived up to it. I can't change what I couldn't change. I could learn from it and learn to grow and to become better. So that's what I've learned. Those are pretty much the key learnings that I had for this first season of Volleyball Official. Although there are tons of other ones that I've encountered and experienced and observed, and it's taught me a lot. Right, I love these processes. I love taking new challenges and to learn what I don't know and go into every situation knowing that I can learn something from this interaction with this person, and to learn how I can interact, communicate it better and more effectively with that person. Just gotta take ownership and responsibility for anything that I do, and live up to my mistakes, because those are the areas where I find the most learning and the most growth in. So I just wanna cap off this incredible, I guess, journey that I had on volleyball officiating, and challenging myself on something new, and as a result of that, I learned tons. Right? It's such everyday. Everything can be a learning moment if you look into the details. If you pick out the details of what you did wrong and what you did right and what you could have done better. And I think Kobe, I listened to the podcast by Kobe Bryant, is that, the process, he gets more learning from losing, but the answers are when you are in there, when you win too. You just have to look at them. So you just gotta be paying attention to details, and know that be obsessed with growing and with learning in everything that you can do. So I'm absolutely loving that. Looking forward to another awesome season in basketball. I know that I can learn a lot more from that. So without further ado, that's pretty much what I want to talk about. It's getting a little dark. I'm just sitting and chilling and just pontificating and reflecting on something that I've learned. And again, I think that to cap off is that I don't think anyone should take my words for anything, because I'm not right or wrong. That's just my view, right? Your views is going to be different than your neighbor's view or anybody's view. So this is just one POV. So hope everybody had an awesome day, and I will. Whoa. I guess a boat is coming. So hope everybody have an awesome day, and much love, and I hope talk to you guys soon. Bye.